Welcome to the Kidmin Huddle with Amber Pike, where children's ministry leaders get equipped, encouraged, and empowered to disciple with intentionality, growing God's kingdom one child at a time.
Welcome back to the Kidmin Huddle. I've had a couple of coaching calls recently, seen some stuff in some Facebook groups about a children's ministry leader moving to a family ministry position. So I thought I would do a whole podcast episode on it. Like legit, 2 coaching calls in the last 2 weeks have been about this, with people considering even resigning from children's ministry to move into family ministry, or asking for a position change, or getting ready to have a position change. So I thought I would share some of my experience on how you can do both. Biblically, we know that mom and dad are commanded to be the primary disciple makers. And we as children's ministry leaders should be equipping mom and dad to disciple at home while doing children's ministry. So for a while, this whole family ministry conversation has been children's ministry leaders. Children's ministry has been spearheading family ministry, and that oftentimes looks a lot like only resourcing. It's children's ministry plus resourcing equals family ministry, and that's not the right equation. So I'm going to walk through a couple of things on how this can look if you are titled. Maybe you have the title of director of family ministry. If you're looking to see, can I do both? Do I need to pick one? Or just how you can be a children's ministry leader who is equipping moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas. So number one, let's talk about if you are a children's ministry leader and moving to a family ministry position. So, for me, I had the title of Director of Family Ministries. Let's say you're already on staff as a children's minister, whatever that title may be, depending on your denomination and all that. So you're going from children's ministry to family ministry. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind. You need some clarity on that job description, and there needs to be a job description. What duties that you currently have are going to be continued? What things are going to be added? What's expected of you? What does this family ministry position look like? At my first church, I requested the position change because it was early 2000s, D6 is on the scene and talking about, 1/168 and the impact and all of that. And the pastor's like, sure, whatever. The pastor didn't have clarity on what this looked like. And I had a young vision of what this should have looked like. So it really didn't look that much different than children's ministry. At my second church, also, I requested this change, and maybe here's a little encouragement for you. I was told no. Then I kept pushing, and about a year later, the pastor finally agreed and said yes. But there wasn't, things weren't handled well. And there were a lot of areas without clear jurisdiction, and it caused problems. So here is some advice that I gave to someone recently, and maybe this is helpful to you. You need to get in writing and a job description, especially if you are moving from one position to the other. Maybe this is a new position. Maybe there's already existing staff. So for example, you are now going to be the family ministry director. There's a paid youth person under you, and maybe some volunteers for children's ministry because you were the paid children's ministry person. Who has decision-making power? Because this youth person that's already served on staff, and I'm just picking the youth person, it could be any person who is now falling under staff under you. Do they get to make their own decisions about events and curriculum? Or is that now you? You see, if there's not clarity on this with a new position change, when other ministries or departments fall under this umbrella of family ministry, there's going to be some friction, and not good friction. Ask me how I know this, because this was the situation that I was in at my last church. I was the director of family ministries. I oversaw youth, children, and unfortunately nursery. If you love nursery, I love that for you. I didn't have time to find and maintain nursery volunteers, which is always a problem on top of everything else. So not knocking nursery. It's important. It's lovely. Yes. But they hired, after about 2 years of this, I think, they hired a new youth person. And because of an agenda, there wasn't clarity over what power I had and what power the youth person had. And they disregarded a lot of stuff. So my situation, it was God's timing, God getting me out of a bad situation, moving me where he wanted me. But the same principle holds true. Without clarity, there's friction. So does that youth person get to plan an event? Or does that event need to run through you? Because if you are, this isn't a power trip thing. If you are the person in charge, like that is your title, that is the responsibility given to you. But let's say this group over here is planning an event that you don't have knowledge about, you didn't give your okay to, not that you're a power hungry, crazy person, but guess if something goes wrong, who is accountable? You. There also needs to be vision and a calendar and alignment and a plan. That's why you need to have clarity. Who has decision-making power? How is the reporting hierarchy working? What about budget dollars? Are you getting more budget? Do you have purchasing power in all the other departments? There needs to be a lot of conversations and a lot of things put into writing with more conversations after, informing parties when there is other staff or existing volunteers in the midst when you're creating this new position or you're moving into a new position. You want the families in your church to be able to be discipled and equipped. But if there's a lot of confusion over what you're allowed to do, what you should be doing, it just really muddies things up and doesn't flow well. So ask a lot of questions, get things in writing, especially over positions, decision-making abilities, reporting structure, the kind of staff hierarchy. Again, this isn't a power trip. You likely do not feel the need for the preschool volunteer or the youth person to have to run the curriculum by you because the church has voted and called and trusted this person to make those decisions for their area. But when you are looking at the family ministry as a whole, there does need to be a system in place. Whether that's some good meetings with you and all of these department heads, so to speak, whether decisions come through you, figure out how that's looking for you and your situation, but just be aware if there's not clarity, there's going to be friction. So those conversations need to be done well in advance, everybody on the same page. You want to be a unified team. Now, how can this work? And I want to address, especially if you're doing both. Because you can do both. You can have children's ministry as your emphasis because if you are serving in children's ministry, you likely love it and have no plans on ever leaving. I said in a podcast I was on recording today, I was joking that I plan on being that like 85-year-old. I want you to wheel me up to the craft table at VBS and I'm going to be in full costume and my wheelchair is going to have like a boa and a cape attached. Like I'm a lifer. You likely are this way too, and you can't imagine not being with the kids. You can do both. You can do children's ministry as an emphasis with family ministry. So here's what it looked like for me. I was the director of family ministry. I had a paid part-time youth person. This youth person was my point person for the in-person teaching. She was there Sundays. She was there Wednesdays. She would do events, and she would go to camp. Awesome. I had the emphasis on children, so I was the children curriculum, the teacher, events, camp, VBS. I was also equipping parents. So resources for all the parents, training for all the parents, children and youth. I had really good communication with my youth person. But because I can't be in two places at once, I did have to have someone who their lane was the youth and their job was loving on the youth, building those relationships with the youth. We would just coordinate and I would be incorporating her into the decision-making process for this is the family ministry plan, path. Yes. But I was still doing children's ministry as a whole. So you can do it this way. So couple of things if you are doing both, or if you are not given the title of family ministry director, coordinator, pick your title. You can still be equipping moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas without the title. Because yes, titles are nice. But if that's not the vision that your church has, if that's not something that they understand or feel the need for, but you understand biblically mom and dad should be being equipped right now so that they can lead and disciple, by all means, friend, do it. Do it as part of your children's ministry job description. So here's a couple of things. I've got 4 things for you to look at. 1, think of the big picture. I've talked about this before when I'm talking about planning, but I talk about it because I do it and it makes a lot of sense. You need to step back and get a big picture plan. So you cannot be just popping in, okay, it's Easter Sunday. What lesson am I going to buy to teach? No, for a million reasons. No, you need a plan. If you are thinking about your families, think that it's mom and dad, a teen, a kid, maybe a preschooler. So you've got them in different age groups, and a parent and kids in different age groups. Okay, what are they all learning? Are you getting them all on the same page somewhere? Maybe that's a priority for you. Maybe it's not. Think about what lessons they're teaching. We have an end goal in mind, right? We know when we have kids move from one area to the next area, we are shooting for a level of biblical literacy, of spiritual growth. By the time they are this age, we would like to see happen. You know, by the time that they're moving up to youth group, I want them to be confident in sitting through a sermon and not having to go potty 4 times, and that they are trained, they've been trained in how to listen to the sermon so they're able to get things out of it. And by the time that they graduate high school and leave youth group, that they are plugged into the church in both service and are growing in their faith. Okay, those are my goals. Well, how are we getting there with our curriculum? Is everybody learning the same things? But then where are my extras? So am I making events that are working in tandem with these curriculums, in tandem with the health of the church, the life of the church calendar? I mean, this hit me when I was at my last church and I realized that I had a mom with kids in all age groups. And she did not need to be bounced around from here to there every week. So there needs to be some unity in the plan and the schedule. Now, there are times I think when youth are going to have their own event, and maybe this is a toddler event every once in a while, but for the whole, I'm having family events. How am I training? When I'm stepping back and I'm looking at this big picture, I'm looking at the family unit. So how many times this month, this quarter, have I asked them to be at church for something special, extra? When are they already here and something that I could add in? I have found to send home the family Advent resource that I'm sending home, which is appropriate for kids and teens. I'm going to kick it off with that first Sunday in Advent during the Sunday school hour being an event because they're already there. I'm not adding anything extra to their Christmas schedule that's already crazy even at the end of November. I'm planning something that kind of introduces whatever the theme of the resource that I picked, and I'm encouraging them to make Christmas about Jesus. This works. This works for their family. It's not an extra ad, but because I've stepped back and I've looked at this big picture, it's able to work. So pull in who you need to pull in. Staff, volunteers, what is this big picture for the families in your church? And then plug in those things: curriculum, events, training. How are we equipping parents while equipping them at church too, with the kids and the teens? Number 2, we need to look at training. This is the area that I think children's ministry leaders who've been doing family ministry have not necessarily slacked in, because I think it's some that they didn't know that this was a big deal. This is the area that I've fallen the most short in when I served with the title of Director of Family Ministry, is I didn't train. I resourced well, but I didn't train well. So what's your training piece look like for families? There should be one, at least, training opportunity for all of your families, not just your kids' parents, but your teens' parents, your toddlers' parents, your babies. What does this look like? Is it a in-person event with the dinner, a catered dinner, and childcare is provided, and you're training them on XYZ? What does this look like? Currently, I do video trainings. I do little short nuggets that are going to help them disciple. I've got a lot of younger parents, younger Christians as well. I'm actually in like the older mom category, and I'm not even 40, and I feel a little like, ooh, I'm not ready for this. Anyways, I'm doing video trainings, and I'm not assuming that these parents know anything. Basically, I'm taking all assumptions off the table. So I started from ground zero. This is what leading a family devotion looks like. This is what family devotions are. Here's why we memorize scripture and a few ideas how. Here is praise. Here is what we do. I'm walking them through the basics because I don't have assurance that all these parents know. And so I'm doing these video trainings that I am recording, putting on my YouTube, posting on the church Facebook page, putting them in an email to parents, and putting the QR code to that training video on a newsletter, which I physically put in my parents' hands. So that's one form of training. But then I also do a training piece at my in-person events. So parents are getting that training piece when they come and do an in-person event. They're kind of getting to walk through the why of whatever we're doing, whatever my theme for my event is, because I've stepped back and I've got that big picture view. So I'm theming my events to go with all the things. And the parents are getting to do that piece of discipleship in a really safe, comforting feeling environment. So training, you need to add a training piece. Whatever your title is, how are you training parents? 3 is your events, especially family events. I really encourage you to take a look at, no matter what your title or official position is, why are you doing the events that you're doing? If you haven't, go back and listen. I have a podcast episode all about why I don't do kids events anymore outside of VBS. I don't, for a reason. 6-ish years ago, maybe 7, was doing, might have been 7 or 8. It was doing Fall Festival, I think was the first one. And I'm like, yeah, I've done them for like going on 2 decades. And I'm thinking that, what's the purpose? I'm not gaining families because I'm in a very churched town. So families come to play in the jumpy and get the candy. So I shifted to a family event. And it was so much fun from a fellowship aspect. I had church family, like chili cook-off, okay, this is a win. And then I really started questioning the Easter egg hunt. I always gave the gospel before they could get the eggs. Never once saw a kid come to church because of the Easter egg hunt. That next Sunday, we never had visitors. I'm like, why am I doing this? I could just give them candy and focus on something else. So I stopped doing kids-only events. And I'm choosing to do family discipleship events. And it has been such a blessing for my families. Now, I am small church, but I have seen our church numbers. We've added 5 new families. And in a small church, that's huge. In like a year and a half, 2 years. Because we have a solid program that's discipling boys and girls, and I'm equipping mom and dad. I'm having family events. I'm not doing huge outreach events. I don't do outreach events. So I'm not giving away a brand new bicycle and a scooter and an iPad to come to our kickoff, whatever. I'm just discipling parents, and we're growing because there's stuff there for families. I highly encourage you to have some conversations with your team, your spouse, if you need a sounding board, whoever your conversation people. What would it look like? What would the benefits be of switching one event to a family event? What would it hurt to try? There's your challenge. I'm going to go do a little bit. What would it hurt to try? Switch one of your events from a kids-only event to a family event, inviting all ages, teens, kids, grandmas, grandpas, and add a discipleship component to it. And I'm going to guess, once you try that, you're not going back. I challenge you. I double dog dare you. Do it. And then let me know what you think when you do it. And then number 4 of how you can do children's ministry plus family ministry is resourcing. It's the low-hanging fruit, the super easy, though this one is the one that does need budget. So you might need to plan accordingly. You might need to ask for some extra budget dollars or a special donation, or you get really creative. And there are ways that you can resource for free, right? You can make a postcard for a podcast. Check out Josh's Gospel Shaped Family podcast. There's a great one recently about technology. This is something our parents are all like, ooh, yes, tell me more. How do I keep my kids safe from social media? Great episode of the Gospel Shaped Family podcast. QR code it in Canva and like screenshot and QR code. Boom. Here you go, parents. Free resource. Check it out. Something they can do when they're driving to work or school or grandma's. Not me, because my mom's like 20 seconds down the road. So would not get much of the podcast in. You can do a library kind of thing where people check out things. You could just highlight in a newsletter. Or you could buy the thing and send one home with every family. That is my favorite. I feel like that is better budget dollars spent than me buying supplies for a game. We want to see them discipling at home. And if that's a priority of me, of my church, I need to put my money where my mouth is. So I try to provide multiple resources, good quality, tangible resources that go home in a year's time. And looping it back to number one, because I've stepped back and I've took a big picture plan, I'm able to know when I'm plugging those in, what they're tying into. So I am nearing VBS time, as many of you are, or maybe you finish if you're a really early bird. I've got resources that are going home for VBS because I knew that would be a quality one. So here's my VBS one is we use Answers in Genesis VBS. Well, Seeds Kids Worship makes an album that goes with the VBS. So I'm buying the album, which is a physical CD, which also comes with a digital download, each one for my families. Here you go. Learn this. It's word for word scripture. There is nothing better than hiding God's word in our hearts. It's an easy quality resource. And I know that my families love it. Boom. Resource. So I kind of alternate between a more expensive resource, something in the $10 to $20 range, to an inexpensive. I also highly recommend with this big picture planning, catch sales. When it's Amazon Prime Week, Christmas sales, I was able to get, I think they were $30 devotions. They were very pricey. They were board book, flappy ones. They were awesome. I was able to get them for like $11 each, catching sales because I planned. So you absolutely can do children's ministry and family ministry at the same time, regardless of your title. With that title, without the title, you can and should be doing this. But this comes to a really important concept that you need to be thinking about. You got to prioritize. What's getting your time? Because whether or not you are moving to a new position, you are taking a new position on, or you have a burden on your heart to start equipping families, you can only do so much, and likely you are already doing more than you are paid for. Willingly, servant's heart, you love it, you're passionate. Yes, been there, done that, made the t-shirt. Yeah. What needs to get offloaded to your plate? What can you delegate? If you are taking on new things to equip families better, what from your existing plate can be delegated? What needs to be scrapped altogether? Because you can't just keep adding things. You remember, you need to have a really good balance. You need to be discipling your kids first. You need to be feeding your faith. You're not a robot that can just keep going. So what needs to change? What needs to shift? How can you maintain good balance and prioritize? You got to watch out for burnout. You have to make sure your priorities are in alignment. Now, this big picture planning, I keep coming back to it, but it's so important, really does help with that. Because when we are doing children's ministry, and we do children's ministry first, I'm making my lessons all that they can be. I'm making my events super awesome. They're all that they can be. Okay, now, parents, what I got for you? Well, I got like 2 hours. So what can I do quick? How do I know that this is the case? Because I did that for years as the family ministry director. I did children's ministry, then family ministry. And my priorities were out of alignment because I should have been equipping mom and dad first. So I needed to do family ministry, then children's ministry. Family ministry shouldn't be getting your leftovers. Again, I don't care what your title is, what your position is. Our job as the church is to equip the saints. So we are, yes, making sure that children's ministry is awesome and we are discipling and we are doing all the things at church that we should do, and equipping mom and dad to where that they are able to disciple at home. It's not an or, it's an and. And we have to stop giving children or family ministry our leftovers. And that means we have to prioritize our workload. We sometimes need to delegate. We might need to learn the hardest phrase in all the languages. No. And I intentionally call that a phrase and not just a word. No. Do you want to add this? No. Are you going to? No. It is okay to say no in children's ministry. In family ministry, in ministry, you can say no. You might get some pushback or you might not. Here's an example. I had a very sweet lady at my church last year, was emphatic that I schedule an event for our children to come at Halloween time in costumes to we have an owls group, the older workers in the Lord's service, to come to the owls dinner and trick or treat around to the owls in costumes. Would it have been great for intergenerational ministry? It would have been great for different age groups connecting and fellowshipping, sure. But what purpose did it serve? Really, she lives in an area without kids. She lives in a low-income apartment complex. She doesn't have young kids in her life, and she wanted to see cute kids in costumes and give them candy. But this wasn't a priority of me. It didn't align with my vision for family ministry. I actually already had an event scheduled and a family vacation in that same month's time. And I'm like, well, no, but thank you. And she was kind of upset, like a little miffed with me that I was saying no. I'm still standing, right? That might be just a kind of like, attitude. But it didn't align with the vision that I had because it didn't have a purpose other than fun. And I just kind of feel that I can do better than just fun. I can make anything fun. I can give my kids a cardboard box and they're having fun. It's okay to say no in ministry. It's okay to cancel things or take things off the plate. But when we do this, we have a reason, and it's our plan. So plan. Whether you have the title or just the urging in your heart to equip families, you can do this, my friend. I would love to help you, bounce ideas off of you. I have tons of resources on my website. I've got family events. I've got devotions for families. I would love to tell you about the Family Ministry Academy. This is an online 9-month course that it's going to blow your minds, and it's going to give you this foundation on how you can do children's ministry with the family first mentality. I talk about that in my book, Intentional Children's Ministry. In the Family Ministry Academy, you're going to walk away with a plan on how to do family ministry. Whether you are the children's leader, the family director, part of a team, the decision maker, or you don't even get the church credit card, it's going to equip you with the tools that you need to start equipping moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas to lead, because, friends, that's one of our goals. We want to see boys and girls become lifelong disciples of Christ, and we know that mom and dad are commanded to be those primary disciple makers. So let's do all that we can to equip mom and dad to lead. Hey, I would love to connect with you on social media. Make sure you're following me. Go send me a message. Tell me, hey, tell me what's working great for you. Let me know if you have questions. I love talking ministry. This is like podcast 3 of the day for me, and I'm still just as excited, though I have to go cook dinner now. Let's talk. If you're interested in coaching, I mentioned I did coaching. Give me a holler. Hey, and friends, remember, what you do matters.